welcome. Spending part of this glorious day with us. We've got a busy agenda, as you can see in front of you. Let's get started. First is the Finance Committee, and we'll begin with the Treasurer.
Good morning. The Finance Committee met last week, if we start with the balance sheet, which is on page 2 of your package, you'll see that our total assets are up $430,000. Again, as previously in previous months, it's primarily due to the loan funding. We have an increase in assets of $128,000 in the CEDC loan fund, $425,000 in the SBA loan fund, and we also have an increase in assets with respect to the micro enterprise grant round 1 of $195,000. We did, and so I think that the assets really haven't changed significantly, with the exception of the micro enterprise funding, and that money will come in as a grant from the state, and then when it gets paid out, it'll be expensed as we pay it to the recipients of the grant. Initially, we because it was from the Office of Community Renewal, it was not clear whether it was a loan that then got forgiven. So that will ultimately get put into income and expense as opposed to being on the balance sheet. On the liability side, again, our liabilities increased by $333,000 because of our increased borrowing from the SBA to enable us to make the additional loans that are now either in the cash account or on the balance sheet as due from borrowers. So our balance sheet is up $430,000 from this time last year. And again, it's primarily due to the work that Steve and Martha are doing at the loan fund and the additional monies that we have received from the SBA and the additional interest that we have put into the loan fund that we did not take out as a fee. So are there any questions on the balance sheet? The P&L has not changed significantly on a percentage basis either. Our administrative revenues are down because of timing with respect to IDA projects. You'll remember we changed the administrative contracts with both the Columbia County and Hudson IDAs to reduce our base fee and to, in the case of the county, get a 10% of closing. We had estimated at the beginning of the year the number of IDA closings, although we see at least one potential closing at the city that would wipe out most of that deficit. With respect to Columbia County, I believe that $11,000 is simply we haven't moved over deferred income for that we're owed because it's pretty straightforward. The county gives us so much money for our administrative fee, our Columbia Forward, and our housing, and on an accrual basis, it should not show that deficit. We are up on grant income, but that is the grant income that we have moved over from our deferred income for the Columbia Forward Loan Grant Program, and you'll see that we have a almost approximately equal grant expense. So we really hadn't, Martha and I didn't budget for how many of those loans we would do during the course of the year. So income is up, but the corresponding entry on the expense side is down, so it's a wash. So we are $50,000 ahead year to date from the budget on income. On the expense side, really nothing has changed significantly. Our employer expense is down $75,000 because of not having filled positions. Our facilities is up by $4,600 because we made a $5,000 payment to extend our lease, which we hadn't budgeted for. Our grant expense is up because we had initiated the grants that I just discussed, where the revenue was up. Everything else is under budget. And as a result, our expenses are below budget by $60,000. Our income is up by 50, so we have $111,000 swing on our net income. Any questions? If you look at page 5, for a minute I thought we lost the page number, and then I realized it's on the left. You can see we're have a deficit in the operating column, the second column in of 12.5. That's significantly lower than what we've had in the past. Obviously, when we have $73,000 of net income and a good and over 80,000 of that is the result of interest on loans that we don't move from the loan funds to the operating account. You're going to see that erosion. Again, it's something that we've talked about with respect to the SBA loan fund. I think the fact that we're getting a $270,000 grant from the SBA makes it difficult to assert that we're entitled to an additional fee for administrating or managing the fund. But certainly on the CEDC loan fund, which has had $48,000 of interest income year to date, as we go forward in developing future budgets, we should really be looking at that. With respect to the SBA, as we pay off the SBA generally before all of the loans in that bucket are paid off by the client. So at the end of when the client makes the last payment, the last borrower who had a 5 to 7 year loan makes their final payment. We're in a situation where those funds are CEDCs. We have been using those funds over time to enable us to have the 15% cash to put in a lockbox account for each of the new SBA tranches. Right now, we are we had enough excess in the reserve accounts, the SBA 15% accounts, to be able to borrow another $500,000. So what it does is it enables us to get more SBA funding without having to use operating cash to create that lockbox. Are there any expenses or any questions on the profit and loss by class? If not, the next 2 pages, 6 and 7, are your budget, but I did make a large size for those of us who haven't been to the eye doctor in a while. This was reviewed and approved by the Finance Committee. It compares the 2024 budget with our 2024 projections. That helped me put together a look at 9 months of actual and 3 months of projected income and expense, and our 2025 budget. You'll see that we are again projecting $15,000 for Columbia County IDA projects and $25,000 for Hudson IDA projects. And I'm pretty confident we have several projects in both of those pipelines, and I think we're going to see a significant development project at CAS. And I also, we have the 620 Union Street Hotel, the 601 Union Street Hotel at the Elks Club. And each of that would be $60 to $75 million of development, and we would get 10% of 1%. So we'd get $60 to $75,000. So again, I didn't over budget for those because of the experience that we had this year. On the Office of Community Renewal Grants, we are going to hit our projections this year. You'll recall we deferred about $20,000 on our Office of Community Renewal Micro Enterprise Grant. We are applying for a second round of that, which is another 300. We are going to manage that grant in the spring of 2025, so that the fee that we would be entitled to that we had gave up this year, we'll be getting next year. So, I think that's a good number, because in addition to the fee from the micro enterprise program, we expect to do at least 2 economic development grants, which is a $16,000 fee each. Moving on to the county, those funds have all been approved. I misclassified it, but the Columbia County broadband income is actually a grant that CEDC is going to get directly from the Connect All office. They did announce that. I'm not supposed to announce it publicly, because in the next day or two, the governor is going to put out a press release. So I did not put that in my written report, but I'm happy to share it with you now. It's $60,000 for 2 years. And we have to come up with a $15,000 match, but that can be with staff and other in-kind expense. The county did approve the $85,000 extension of the Columbia Forward income, and the additional $45,000 to bring us up to the full budget of $90 for housing at the Board of Supervisors meeting earlier this month. Interest income, I pared it down just a little bit, because we're not going to see 4.5%, 5% rates. We weren't getting that. We were getting 2. So I think that we'll probably be able to sustain 2 to 2.5, but I just didn't want to jump that over beyond what I thought might happen. Martha and Steve and I went through Steve's terrific Excel management tool that he's created that has allowed us to project based on the volume of loans that we anticipate putting on the street, what the earned interest income would be. And we did increase it, consistent with the increase over 2024 budget and actual. The other categories I did not increase membership beyond what we brought in this year. I think the committee did discuss the fact that as we go into budgeting for 2026 and 27, which is a 3-year plan that we're working on for the committee and the board, that we're going to have to figure out how to get membership incrementally up. I don't know that you can jump from 60 to 75. I think that's probably realistic. I don't know that you can jump from 60 to 100. And again, I think we have to have a board discussion as to how we really perceive our ability to do that without appearing to be competing with the chamber on membership. With respect to our SBA grant, that is a grant that is on a fiscal year. It runs from July 1 to June 30th. So we're only guaranteed for the first half as to what that will be. But based on our loan volume, we're fairly comfortable that it will be at least what we got this year, which was the same, very similar to what they gave us the previous year. So our income, is up about $100,000. On the expense side, we are starting to run at least budget for some bad debt. We had not done that last year, as the portfolio grows, I think that on the SBA side, you end up having the $15,000 in the reserve accounts to cover the cash, and we do have over $270,000 in loan loss reserve on the balance sheet. So this 15 really wouldn't hit cash. It would really be a draw on the balance sheet. But as you know, To the extent that we do project a profit, we do like to take a portion of that and add it to the reserve each year. To the extent the accountants will let us do that without over reserving. You know, these other expenses, you know, we did you know, increase. We used the 2024 budget number for the consulting expenses. Basically, our direct program expense I upped because we spent more on the annual meeting than we had previously budgeted. Our employee expenses are based on filling the project manager's position at a full-time basis. And you know, you can see that we would go from $431,000 up to $525,000. That also includes a 3% wage increase on the base salary. Flipping over to the back page, our rent is for the rent schedule. Our grant expense is based on anticipating having to give another $5,000 to the Columbia Capital Resource Corporation. I budgeted the same for our insurance because we didn't hit that mark this year. You know, we do like to at least get $65,000 in micro enterprise program expense out of the SBA grant. The other does cover salaries and overhead. Our new initiatives, I did bump up primarily because we're getting the $60,000 from the state for broadband that we didn't have last year. So we're gonna have to spend some out-of-pocket money on on consultants and other broadband expense. And we did include the $15,000 again for the workforce program at the college. Office expenses, I did either 3 to 5% based on what I thought the goods and services we were procuring would hit, and as a result, it's up $10,000. We will see a drop in our EIDL interest because we are paying that off ahead of the 30-year schedule. We're paying it off over 5 years instead of 30, and I think we're down to about $64,000. Legal fees, Andy forgot to bill us unless there's a year-end surge. So you know, I did anticipate that at least what we budgeted last year plus an increase, and obviously I anticipate the accountants will do the same. That brings us down to public relations and marketing, which we budgeted the same, and interest on the SBA loans. Reduced it modestly from 2024's budget. That brings us to $1,272,000, which gives us a $5,000 to the good. Again, this is the budget. I think it will be slightly refined, but Lisa needs to get it so by the end of the month it can be submitted to the authority budget office. Are there any questions?
Finance committee reviewed this, and what was their recommendation?
Finance committee did approve the budget as Mike presented.
Questions?
And we will work, this will be the foundation on which we will work on the 2026 and 7 budget for a report at the board meeting following the next finance committee.
Questions, comments, thoughts about the budget?
I'll make a motion to approve it. I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Oh, and, I also have a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. On to the loan committee. Chairman Ken is not here. Martha, can I ask you to present the loan committee report?
Yes. Yesterday, the loan committee met and reviewed the portfolio dashboard, which is in your packet. This was run on October 8th. If you had run it today, there would be a couple more clients on here, but loan client A is seriously in arrears. We've had Freeman Howard send a demand letter to them. We did see that they set up an account in the online portal through our down-home loan management software. They haven't yet made a payment, but we feel encouraged that they have at least set up an account. Loan client is in arrears and we've been in touch with them. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
And
Now,
the loans, okay. Yesterday, the loan committee approved a $10,000 loan to Body of Movement Incorporated. We've informed the client and will be sending out a commitment letter today. The next one is Clearwater Spas and Pools. This one does require full board approval. It is a company that repairs and maintains pools and hot tubs. The loan request is $25,000, which will be split between our two loan funds, 72-month note on both, total payment of $435.28. The interest rate is 7 3/4, and the purpose is to purchase a used vehicle and provide some working capital. The collateral will be title to that vehicle and the personal guarantee of the principal. And this was recommended by the loan committee.
good questions on this one?
Was there some discussion on, I would imagine, on this loan, in regards to the credit score?
Yes, and this is one of many businesses that doesn't look good on paper, but we called in the principal to meet with us and we were impressed and pleased with his energy and ambition, understanding of the business. He has quite a bit of history working for other pool companies. So we feel that this will be a good loan.
And does he have any idea of the vehicle yet, or no?
Not yet.
I'm reading your, report that comes in with more detail, sort of corroborates what I've heard widely in the local area about the current situation of pools, whatever, maintainers.
He's very focused on customer service.
Seems like he might have found a niche.
Is there a motion to approve?
A motion. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. To countryside cleanup.
Yep, good morning, everybody. This is page 12 in the packet, Countryside Cleanup, a waste collection business located in Ghent. The request of us was a $25,000 loan across 72-month note with 7.75% interest. Purpose of the loan being a truck purchase and some working capital. Our collateral will be the title to that commercial vehicle, a lien on the business assets, and of course, the personal guarantee of the principals. This is Countryside Cleanup out of Ghent.
And we actually would like to split this loan between the two loan funds as well. So it'll be a $10,000 loan and a $15,000 loan, just like with the previous one.
And we've done business with them before, did I
Oh,
read
yes.
that?
We call them repeat offenders.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. On to MC Wood.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure, and then MC Wood's loan of $15,000 was presented to the loan committee yesterday and approved unanimously. So, thank you.
Questions? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much to the loan team. The search committee, which is charged with identifying the most qualified person to succeed Mike Tucker as the president and CEO down the road. Had a meeting yesterday, it was an inaugural meeting. We had a good open discussion and began the process of putting together our timeline. And the consensus was that we would do everything that's necessary to post the position somewhere in the vicinity of August or September of next year. and aim to have the new person on board, or at least announced and introduced at the annual meeting, at that breakfast in late April of 2025. The 26, my apologies. And
Going fast.
yeah, yeah, we gotta get moving. The committee will meet again on December 10th. We've got a lot more groundwork to be laid before we can, start posting anything. And we'll keep the board apprised as we go forward. Questions? Mike, on to your report.
My apologies for the delay in getting the summaries to you. But as you can see, we're certainly engaged with our clients, the county, the supervisors, our grant funders, as well as stakeholders and those who are interested in either expanding or locating businesses here, both through our concierge services and our loan program and technical assistance program. I think that, if there are any questions, please feel free to contact me afterwards, because I know that I can give you much of the time to review it. We've also included more of a bullet activity report from staff members. Also in your report is a summary that we put together on cell service. I think as the board moves forward with the search committee and the strategic planning that will be part of that process, looking at what is the next infrastructure issue that the board would like to see us work on. Certainly, I know the chair of the board of supervisors and others this is the next issue on their agenda. And the purpose of this was to do a kind of a literature search as to where the state is with respect to the cell service task force that Governor Cuomo had created and the recommendations they had made, and then some of the obstacles that exist from a search, including it's not economically viable in rural counties to go out and enhance the cell service, similar to what we've heard from the broadband providers. There are regulatory policy factors, there's technology limitations, the lack of consumer demand. And I think what we have heard on the technology side is if the carrier is going to spend money to upgrade a cell tower, they do it where there's volume usage, because that's where they want to make those customers feel that the service isn't the demand isn't overpowering the ability to provide the service. The other issue that popped up where I live is a group of citizens stopped the Bush Road cell tower. And just to give you a sense of the visceral engagement, that these are probably the same people that call Verizon when they lose a call and complain. But maybe Elon Musk and the satellites will solve all of his technology problems before any of us get through the morass of figuring this out. But I thought seeing firsthand the kind of NIMBY reaction that people it's safety, it's visual landscape, community character, impact on our property values. Put it in front of someone else's house. Environmental impact and health impact. Several of these things would result in you concluding you shouldn't have any cell towers or high voltage power lines. So it's a starter. I thought that giving you a policy piece would be a good place to start. I think we had a luncheon yesterday, Jim and I, with Mark Finger, the chair of the board of the chamber, and Bill Durlack, the CEO. We had some discussion on next year's Future Forward program, but also on some policy issues. And I think our next short white paper will be on tourism. So
back to the cell tower issue. Is this going on now up in Austerlitz area? I see signs along the road.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and there's a proposed, potential proposed, residential, housing project in Stockport. But as you go through Stockport, you see the people who were opposed to the Dollar General, and I don't know enough about it as to whether I thought it was a good idea or a bad idea, but it keeps Stockport wild. And one of the issues I brought up yesterday was with respect to infrastructure. I get competitive when I see grants issued by the state for water and sewer projects. And so I went through the list of all of the communities that got the 650 million last week. And then I started thinking about, what towns or villages we could, encourage or work with or support to get grant money. And then I come to the conclusion that in most cases, there are communities that don't have water and sewer don't necessarily want it because it brings the type of development that they would perceive as changing the character of their community. So, with home rule and realizing our biggest client is the SBA and the Board of Supervisors, we want to be strategic in providing services to those who are looking to get those types of services. That basically concludes my report unless there's any questions.
Thank you again for putting together the written report. It's very thorough, very informative. I hope everybody's had a chance to read the report.
I'm trying to work to some level of consistency, and because I did such a long report the first time, it was a little hard to get, without repeating some of the baseline stuff, what has been done since. But I think what you see is the engagement of the staff, the entire staff, and engaging with the stakeholders that relate to the work that each of us are doing.
Thanks again, Mike. Board discussion, the topic is the strategic plan. This handout that you have in front of you, the green and white one, is just a summary of what has been in place since 2022. And as we begin down the path of eventually advertising the president and CEO position, we need to anticipate that applicants will ask, okay, what's CEDC all about? What does it stand for? What are its principles, its mission, its objectives, and what does it value? And that's what the strategic plan is about. The question before us today is, do the four pillars that were adopted back in 2022 still apply as the four main areas of focus for CEDC? And if they don't, do we need to tweak this a little bit, or do we need to toss it and start from scratch, or something in between? So I wanted to begin that conversation today, and the floor is open for observations about what we have now and what we should have going forward.
I have a question for Mike. Mike, when you started here, here's my question to you. When you started here and took over from the previous administration, and from that point to today, what would you say this entity, this organization's dealings with compared to the public or the business part of your day-to-day operations compared to what your day-to-day operations are with the county and the towns? Has that grown or less?
I think it's grown, in multiples.
Here's the reason that I asked, and I don't know if I'm wise to why I even asked this. My observation, just only of the organization, is that it's grown. Has it grown because there's less business here, and the business now focus of this is more because of the county needs it, and that's the biggest business?
I think that, and I'd really like to ask some of the staff who've been here before I was here, because they have a better feel for, what, was happening then, but I think we've become more entrepreneurial. I think, and, you know, like, they can, object to that too, but, I think we were an extension of county government, and I think that, you know, we didn't have the visibility that we have now, and so it was perceived that we were all inside baseball here. And you only got a grant or a loan or an IDA financing
Absolutely.
if you were, in the know.
Sure.
I think that, by having, you know, and I think, Martha, we've more than doubled the loan fund.
Yes.
So I think we've become more entrepreneurial, and I think that although the county is our biggest client,
Right.
I don't want anyone to think that I don't perceive that client is hiring us to do what we do on the outside, rather than have a economic development office as a department of county government. You know, several, Greene County still has their economic development in county government. They did set up a not-for-profit to be able to do some of the flexible things we can do. You know, Rensselaer County has their economic development in county government. And so, you know, Saratoga is an example of a county that has our model. Orange County has our model. So, Martha and Lisa, how do you perceive the growth of what we're doing and explanation of why it's happened?
I do think at one point we had a retired banker who was leading the organization. He was very smart, but very focused on the loan side. I think
Right.
that was his experience.
Right.
And maybe to the exclusion of some other projects that we have since taken
Right.
on.
Margaret, and not to belabor it, but my question, I just want to understand, when you go out to see people and businesses and especially new people coming to you and learning what we're all about and asking for funds, which can be hairy at sometimes, even if they went to a bank and had not had the best experience with a bank, which sometimes I have to imagine that's what you may be running into. They're new, or else they're going to us because they haven't had the best terms with a bank, and banks can be difficult at times. Do you find that once they've worked with us and once you have had the opportunity to sit down with them and go over their books and go over their, educate them a little bit on what we have to offer, do they open up to us more? Is it more, do you get more response to us? From the past couple of years, is it easier to get people into you or not now?
I think it's easier.
You think, so your job, even though going out, has become easier to bring people in once you get them in your seat?
So many more people know about us now. And
Yes.
so often it's
Yes.
a referral, and that really paves the way.
Going back to what Mike said originally, the public, the business, the public are now encouraged to come here. It's not that you're in the know to be able to come here,
Oh, I think that's the case, absolutely.
which is a good thing.
And we also get referrals from the SBA, so
Great.
people who didn't know about us,
Good.
find out.
Good, so then that's a good thing. That's what I'm looking for. That's a good thing. So you're seeing good results then.
Not every project has a happy outcome.
No, I understand. You're gonna have bumps in the road.
And I do
Totally
think we're
get that.
seeing, because of the influx of the outside capital that's come into the county and particularly into the city of Hudson, we're seeing more development projects coming to us for guidance on grants and IDA financing and
Yeah,
how to maneuver local planning and zoning.
I think the reason I asked the question was I just don't want the outside businesses or whatever, the small store on the street or whatever to say, well, because, and I don't take this wrong, because I know your job, the county being our biggest customer, we're always involved in big projects and whatever. I don't want that little guy to be swallowed up. Well, they're always dealing with those big projects. That's always the front page. I I would hate to see them get swallowed up into, well, I can't go to them because they're always busy. They're always in that big project.
But we've looked at, $500,000 development projects to $30 million development projects.
Right, right.
It's basically the same pathway. It's
Sure,
just,
yes, sure.
The third pillar here, quality of life and sustainability. I'm assuming the sustainability is not referring to what sustainability as talked about today. But maybe it's a little misleading using sustainability, which brings into mind its semantics, but I think sustainability is so out there in terms of being like green, which is not really what we mean here. But maybe.
I think that was an accommodation at the time that the then board initiated this to show that we did have a sensitivity to the bucolic nature of the county and the environmental sustainability without getting into whether we were, what level we were supporting climate change and the philosophical part of it. But, there was a sensitivity on the part of board members that quality of life included sensitivities to sustainable development and growth.
Maybe I don't get that from like
Yeah.
the verbiage there.
Yeah.
But I honestly never thought of that as part of our.
Well, I think the theory was we shouldn't be developing for developing without consciousness of concepts of sustainable growth, which maybe is a one-pager I'll get for you of what that means, because it may be semantic.
Well, I mean, that is economic, because I feel like one of our biggest assets is our natural beauty and natural resources. So if you take that away, then it hurts us economically.
And that's where things like the Stockport Dollar General, whatever, are very much, that's what's at the core of that, I think, right? It's, anyway, I don't know all the details of that, but, I think if there's a way to encourage brownfield development or, rather than, paving over and more, green space, those things are part of sustainability, and there's a lot of empty buildings around, that's for sure.
I think it went to clustering instead of having every business have a 5-acre parcel with a parking lot in the driveway. And you go up Route 66 between Hudson and 9H. If you put a 20-acre, you take 20 acres and put a development, or do you have 16 businesses on both sides of the road with 3 to 5 acres? And what we've kind of taken the position is that's the local planning board's decision.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we learned from the gas station at 23 and 9 at Bell's Pond that we should focus in on the economic development multiplier and not make any determination or have any view on whether it's the most environmentally sensitive development that's ever come to.
Sure, every town has its own zoning code.
Yeah.
And comprehensive plan,
And
so
their own-
really town to town, it's gonna be different.
And their own desire as to what they want. And I think that, but it does put us in a position of having to be careful when someone comes in with a plan that we know when they tell us about it, it's not gonna fly locally. How far do we help them? We make them go and get their planning and zoning approvals before we get too far into it.
But wouldn't it, it seems to me like something like the Flanders facility, that would be a priority to try to find a new, occupant or whatever for that, and that maybe it's outdated in some ways, and then there should be a role for CEDC in trying to help, spur some,
We spend a lot of time on it. The real big issue is that the Flanders sold the building 10 years ago to a real estate investment trust in Chicago who didn't even know they owned it. They have several billion square feet of space. The lease only has 6 years on it. So the people we're showing it to are unwilling to fit it up for their purpose. And the other big issue is 3 of them now have turned to me and said, now you can guarantee 100 employees here the first day we open? And I go like this, because, and we work with the college, we work with the workforce board, we work with Workforce New York. We've had 5 organizations that we've had more than 3 meetings each with. who have looked at that building, and Peter Struzzi, who's the broker in Albany. And I are regularly talking about it. They're
But
now
just
looking
in
at
terms,
chop-
beyond the specifics of that, I
Yeah.
mean, just,
they're now looking at chopping it
Right.
up, and I don't think that.
but it would seem to be like that would be, should be one of the core goals somewhere strategically is to get tenants into existing infrastructure
Yeah.
or, so that, the place isn't littered with empty buildings everywhere all the time.
Other thoughts, observations on what we do with this, 4 pillars strategic plan?
I mean, I think, the quality of life and sustainability is obviously one where I feel like what I do, and Alana fit into a lot, and it would be nice to see maybe a more specific reference to the sort of history and culture kind of that is a big draw for a lot of the people who ultimately are coming in to build, they land here for a development reason, but they become engaged in, and what keeps them, helps retain them is the sort of vitality of culture and art and history and all these things that are happening in the area.
Dr. Drummer, workforce and education.
I think it's really still very important, more important than ever, actually, with things changing so dramatically.
So,
I just think we need to figure out, how we move forward with it.
Rich or Rachel, any thoughts, any comments?
No, I agree with, with what people are saying.
In the past, we have held strategic planning sessions on the part of the board using a hired professional facilitator, moderator, and we can go that route again if you think it's appropriate and desirable. It is time consuming and it sometimes hard to block out enough time for everyone in their busy schedules. Another option would be to block some time at 1 or 2 future board meetings to delve more deeply into each one of these pillars as to what they mean and what they should mean and how to amend them so that they reflect the current reality in Columbia County and our mission. If we can do that with or without a facilitator. Either of
I
those
think that
options.
the latter is a good thought. To me, it would work better with my schedule to add a half hour to this meeting with notice and, be able to plan on that. And, yes, I think it's helpful to have a facilitator, just a third party who can kind of, get above it all a little bit.
I think the benefit of the facilitator is that, the individual keeps you on track. And it's been my experience with strategic planning that people don't understand the difference between a strategic goal and a tactic.
Right.
They move right to the tactics. And we don't want that. We really need to have overarching goals that have meaning.
All right, then going forward, we'll try to schedule 1 or 2 of those sessions tacked onto a board meeting. Thing like today, we wouldn't want to be sitting here developing the new strategic plan. So
We might have to go out to a quality of life tour.
Yeah, I was just saying, I believe, I can't say anything publicly, but this new facility will be available as of like next week. So I was glad to host one if you'd like to. And would also let everybody see what it is. And it'd be great.
that would be exciting. Would there be any issues as far as having to broadcast an off-site meeting?
We have all of this.
We do.
Yeah, I add Alana, we have all this.
Let's pursue that. Good. Okay. We have thank you for the feedback. Consent calendar is the minutes and the 2025 board calendar. Anyone interested in discussing either of those topics? If not, have a motion to approve.
I make a motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Do we need to revisit the date of the November board meeting, or is that squared away?
Lisa?
Where did it get to?
I got responses from that and you might see that is the date that we
Okay, everyone okay? Is there a motion to change the November date of the board meeting to November 19th?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. So that date is now fixed. And the 2025 board calendar is attached to your packet. We are always open to public comment. I don't see anyone from the public attending today.
May I comment, Jim?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. I would like to call everyone's attention to two gentlemen of distinction in the room who have birthdays coming up. And the first is Jim Calvin, whose birthday is Friday. And the second is Mike Tucker, whose birthday is Tuesday, October 29th.
Happy birthday.
When's your birthday?
I always keep it on the calendar, so that I am more polite on someone's birthday than I might otherwise be.
Looking ahead to November, the government and governance and nominating committee meets on November 12th. The loan committee on November 18th, and the board meeting will be on November 19th. CEDC meetings during that month. Other comments, questions, criticisms, or complaints? If none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? Enjoy the day.
I was guessing